Oh, hello there. I didn't see you come in. I'm Shane O'Hare of the Geekscape Games Podcast, the #1 video game podcast on the Geekscape.network. Join myself, Derek Krenevelt, and a guest every fortnight as we discuss video game news, video game reviews, and dissections. That's Geekscape Games every 2 weeks on Geekscape.net.
There's a party each and every year on Christmas Eve, where the fun and cocktail shrimp don't seem to end. Clark and Ralphie taking turns on the TV screen, laughing, singing, yelling with all of our friends. Well, it's Christmas, and everybody's gonna spread the holiday cheer.
Hey, Dylan.
Hey, Matt.
So, I'm looking at you in person again.
I know it's a little bit later in the year. It is March now. I'm staring at you. You're back in my living room.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do a little marathon recording session, and I think these next couple episodes are gonna be amazing. But what you surprised me with was with almost like our listener count for the spring is pretty good.
It's almost as high as our winter listeners, which is insane. So thank you everybody who's out there still like listening to us talk about Christmas shit.
Yeah, thank you. And what's wrong with you? But no, I'm just kidding.
No.
You're just like us. We love it.
It's a legit question. Leave us a review and explain it.
Yes, please.
We're sitting down, we're going to knock out 4 episodes of this, and then you're going to guest on another show that I do, which is
I'm super excited.
very exciting. But we're going to kick it off with a TV show pick that you made. So let's talk about this. So you picked a Rick and Morty episode.
Yes, Rick and Morty. Everybody knows what Rick and Morty is. I don't think it needs to be described because if you take it back to its beginnings, it's icky. Kinda.
Yeah, this is such like the weird combination of your previous TV show picks, right?
Yes,
because
yeah.
it's like very adult, like it's the next evolution of the adult animation of South Park, but then
Yep.
it's also the next evolution of Dan Harmon from Community, and
Yeah.
like they converged into this.
So Justin Roiland put out a short called Doc and Marty back in the day, and it was a parody of Back to the Future, of course. This will be the first time on the show that I say don't go back and watch that short.
Yeah, I mean, so the thing is, I have like mixed feelings because that was like one of those things that people like came back at, and
Yeah.
it was part of, what was it, Channel 101, I think it was.
Yeah, I think so.
And Channel 101 had a lot of questionable stuff on it. So I feel like it's getting targeted because it's what spawned a very popular show, but really anything that came out of Channel 101 was equally as bad, if not worse.
Yeah.
It was literally like, let's be as shocking and vulgar as possible.
Exactly. And honestly, some of that stuff, while it hasn't aged well, is better than others. And what I mean by that is like more clever.
Did you ever see Jaws 4, I think it was called?
No.
So it was the short that Rob Schraub did for Channel 11 or Channel 101, which if you know Rob Schraub, he created the comic book Scud the Disposable Assassin, which is like an incredible comic book. He wrote and directed Monster House, and he did a bunch of episodes of Community and Rick and Morty. Like he's like involved in that whole world.
Yeah.
But Jaws 4 was him doing his version of Jaws the Revenge with fruits. So he had like oranges with faces drawn on them, but then the shark was just his flaccid penis with a shark fin attached to the top of it. And you're like, what is
so
this?
Like,
and they only referred to the shark as Jaws 4. They're like, oh no, there's Jaws 4.
Oh my God. So this sounds like something that in description is making me giggle and hilarious. But if I watch it, I'm going to be like, what the fuck am I watching?
Yeah, it's just like, what is this? And recently I was like, I wonder if I can even find it. Like I've watched it once when it first came out and I heard about it. Rob Schraub has done a great job of scrubbing the internet of anything related. I'm sure once you make a kids movie, you're like, maybe I should get my penis off the internet.
Yeah, I don't think I can blame him there.
So what season are we watching of Rick and Morty?
All right, so we're watching season 1, episode 3, the first Rick and Morty Christmas episode. I don't think there were any more.
When you said that we were doing a Rick and Morty Christmas episode, I literally was like, there's a Rick and Morty Christmas episode?
Yeah.
Because I binged all the seasons.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like barely a Christmas episode.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Even when you watch it, it's not much of a Christmas episode. I absolutely love this episode, and less for the Christmas portion and more for what everybody remembers, which is Anatomy Park.
Anatomy Park. It's a parody of Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Almost beat by beat.
Yes.
So here's my thing with Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
I've binged the whole show.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
That's as far as I'll go with it.
Yep.
I'm not like a huge fan of it, and I blame my coworker for that.
Okay.
The person who I sat next to was a diehard Rick and Morty fan and would spend hours of his day talking like Rick. So
Jesus.
By the time I started watching the show, I was having like Vietnam flashbacks to his impression of Rick. Even like sitting on the couch here at your house watching it last night.
Yeah.
Every time that Rick spoke, I was like,
got real cringy.
like it's just like I can't do it. And it's like it sucks because there are really, really funny lines and things from Rick. But I also think that like season 1 Rick is a very one-note character that like expands a lot more in the later seasons. So the fact that we're watching a season 1 episode 2 is like that was like the version of Rick that this dude clung to.
Yeah.
Which was just the like rambly, burping, almost about to vomit Rick. And like I like that they kind of like rein that in a little bit in later seasons, but it's a great. It's probably, I would argue, it's my favorite episode of season 1 for sure.
Definitely. My experience with Rick and Morty, I was an early adopter of Rick and Morty because I've followed Dan Harmon after Community. Of course, I don't pay much attention to Dan Harmon pre-Community. I just want to put that out there.
Yeah.
But post-Community. And I would say now I'm at the same point you are. I kind of fell off Rick and Morty around late second season.
I mean, the Sesh one, so that's the thing.
That's the thing. Yeah.
I got into it after all of that.
Okay.
So I was also watching it being like, God, I hate Rick and Morty fans. It's kind of, it's kind of like, I mean, I know we make this comparison all the time, but it is that like thin line of like enjoying ICP but having mixed feelings on Juggalos as a whole. Like that's like kind of where I'm at with like Rick and Morty. Is like, yeah, I've met people who are casual Rick and Morty fans and they're delightful. But I've met people where their entire existence is based around Rick and Morty now.
That's my thing. What brought me back in is I got the opportunity to review the 4th season before it came out on Blu-ray for Icon versus Icon. And I watched it all and I'm like, wow. Like, I do genuinely love this show.
The show got a lot better.
I can't stand the fan base. It's very like, we're smarter than you. If you don't like it, you just don't get it. Also, Szechuan sauce. Like,
which, I mean, I tried the Szechuan sauce.
It's not that good.
It's shit.
It's terrible.
It's terrible.
I was really disappointed when I finally found some, and I was like, oh my gosh, I never knew I'd be able to hold this. And I open it up, I dip the nug in, and I'm like, wow.
It's like dipping it in balsamic vinegar.
Yeah. It's like, not it's good. Terrible. So curse you, Rick and Morty. We're done this episode, all right?
Well, no, I was going to say one of the things, look, Dan Harmon is a very complicated person. It's the less said, the better. But one of the positive things is that he seems to also dislike most of the Rick and Morty fans, which is the one good thing in him right now is that he equally is like, yo, you incels are fucking garbage.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
But there are some legitimately hilarious lines in this episode.
It is I said it yesterday. I think it is my favorite episode of Rick and Morty as a whole. I put it in that time where there wasn't that rabid fan base.
Yeah, it's like in this safe little space.
Yes.
There are really good moments. I wrote down 2 specific Rick lines. The one line I wrote down is, you don't agree to have an amusement park built inside of you if your life is going great. And then the other one is when Morty is making out with a girl and Rick hops on and just goes, hey, Morty, could you put this on mute or something? Yeah. I'm trying to focus.
All right, so let's do the setup, right? So it's Christmas in the old household. And Jerry discovers that everybody in the house, Beth, Summer, Morty, they're all like messing around with their iPods, iPads, phones, whatever. And he's like, what's going on? It's Christmas. We need to take all these away. We need to have a communicative Christmas. Like, we need to be in touch with one another and stuff like that. Takes all their electronics. And then Jerry's parents show up. And Jerry's parents show up with another man.
Named Jacob. Who is so likable.
Yes, Jacob is the most likable person. Instant hit with the family.
Yeah.
And we're all confused about who Jacob is. Like, where did Jacob come from? And there's little subtle hints dropped in the beginning, but that's about it, right?
I mean, let's be honest. Did you know right away from out the gate?
I could probably assume because
I was like, I know
where this show's going.
But yeah, so Jake shows up.
Yes,
he's
Jacob
amazing.
shows up, and he's awesome. All of a sudden, Rick busts in, and he's like, "Oh, hey, hi," to Jerry's parents, and is like, "Morty, can I talk to you in the other room?"
Well, he brings in what is a drunk man dressed like Santa Claus named Ruben.
Yes, he brings in Ruben. I skipped over the Ruben part. He brings in like drunk homeless man named Ruben who looks just like Santa Claus, wearing a Santa hat. Takes him to the back, and then he busts back in.
Yeah, then he's like,
hey, I need you. They go into the room. He basically says, Morty, I need your help. Shrinks him down and just puts him right in Ruben. Basically, Morty is put inside Ruben, and we discover that Rick has built this theme park inside Ruben.
One of the things I do want to point out that I love, it's a tiny detail, but I love that Ruben's quote-unquote operating table is just a ping pong table with like the paddle is still there.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, he's laying on a ping pong table. It's so lazily put together that like the ping pong paddles are still at the end of the table, and it's the net that's holding him in place.
I feel like I need to go back. I didn't even notice that.
As soon as I saw him, like, that's really funny. And I wrote down, like, Ruben is on a ping pong table.
One of my favorite things is one of our guests in this episode is John Oliver.
Just being John Oliver.
Yes, it's John Oliver playing John Oliver, which is perfectly fine for me because I really like John Oliver. If you don't like John, you're probably not going to like this episode.
Probably not.
Because it's very him. Would you like to take a ride on the Bone Train, Matt?
Why are you doing this bit?
He's like, are you seriously doing this bit? We're about to die? We get into Ruben. What's ultimately discovered is that the park is kind of shutting down. It's much like the Jurassic Park MO, right? Where things are shutting down. The creatures, in this case, the diseases that have been housed in Ruben, part of this museum-like attraction.
That's the thing. That's like the part that like it took me a second. I forgot that was where they came from because I'm like, why does he have like Black Plague and all this stuff? But it's like it's a museum of diseases that you can walk through. Amazing. Like that's like the thing that made people love this show, right? Is the attention to the detail, the attention to like the absurdity of what they're leaning into.
Yeah. So basically all these infectious diseases get released into Ruben, and then it almost turns into like an 80s action movie where you've got the foreign badass dude who's there, the protector, who ultimately turns on the group.
If I was going to make any complaint about anything, it's that all of the characters are there for Jurassic Park, so I don't know why they bleed into a different film parody.
They do.
And it's like, no, just stick with it. Like that character didn't need to be Rambo. He could have just been Muldoon.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like there's like little things like that where I'm like, I don't know why you did this, but whatever. It's funny. I'm on the ride. I'm enjoying myself.
I think as I'm sitting here and like we're trying to figure out kind of what to chat about, is I'm starting to realize that the plot itself, not that great. It's just a good setup for these one-liners that are really memorable.
Yeah, it's a setup for everything else.
Exactly.
And I mean, that's fine. I feel like in comedy, when it comes to comedy, you don't have to have the most brilliant plot in the world as long as you know how to set up your jokes.
Exactly. So back in the real world, like outside of Ruben,
Jerry's having a hard time.
Jerry's having a really hard time. They're all at the dinner table, and basically it is revealed that Jacob is not their lover, but is the mother's lover. and Jerry's father
is a cuck.
Is a cuck. Jerry's father is a cuck. Not only that, but Jerry's father loves to wear a Superman costume,
which comes up in such an
Dude,
amazing
it's
way.
So good.
It's
so
so
good.
quick how it happens. But yeah, later on in the episode, Jacob and Jerry's mom start making out, and all of a sudden you just for a split second see the dad sneaking into a closet and revealing
the Superman reveal.
Yes. But that's around the same time as the big Christmas thing that's worth talking about in this episode is Summer's Christmas drums.
Oh
song.
my God. So basically Summer turns into the scat man.
Yeah. They just have a drum circle. Just like
drum,
Christmas
drum, Christmas drum. While the boy is playing drums.
It's like absolutely chaos. It's so bad. Also, Ethan shows up. It's worth mentioning Ethan because that comes up later.
Ethan shows up, basically is like, why haven't you been texting me back? And of course, that's because Jerry took away all the phones and such. Comes in and he's like, I think Jacob asks him, like, what's wrong, Ethan? And Ethan's like, Summer's being just a bitch.
Yeah. Which is such like a 16-year-old response. It's
exactly
so good.
Exactly.
But yeah, and then Jacob proves his incredible ability to like literally fix every situation. He is the anti-Jerry. Jerry is awful at bringing people together.
Yeah.
Jacob does it with ease.
Which is so unfortunate. That is one thing that I know, like, that's the whole point of the show. But in every season, I find myself going, this poor dude.
Yeah. Well, you and I talk about this a lot, but like there are certain shows that I like and I'll never rewatch because like I don't like how they make me emotionally feel.
Yeah.
And like the Jerry stuff is like a huge factor in why I will probably never revisit Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
And why this wouldn't be, one of the big questions we always ask, is this something that you would watch every single year at Christmas time? Or is
no.
Yeah.
No,
it doesn't catch the vibe that I'm going for at Christmas time at all.
And honestly, it doesn't make me feel Christmassy.
Not at all.
Whatsoever. Even that being set at Christmas, I'm like, give or take. But it is a great episode of Rick and Morty. It is not something I need to watch every Christmas.
No, and I don't think that there's any fault to that whatsoever.
No.
So,
did you cry?
I didn't. So what I do want to talk about is the ending, right?
Yeah.
So they inflate Ruben.
Yeah.
Because the plan is that he'll explode Ruben to kill all the diseases. But then that way, that by like relativity, the bigger Ruben gets, it'll bring Morty and the other lone survivor to their human size, and then he can blow up.
Yeah, and it sucks that we're like flying through this, but honestly, there's not a lot there. It's just a bunch of quotable lines, and if we want to just talk about that, we could just keep repeating lines that are in the show. I mean,
but I wanted to ask you: have you seen the footage from the 70s of the beached whale that they tried to take care of by exploding?
No.
Okay.
So I'm assuming that's what this was a parody
I have
of?
a feeling it's a reference to that. So I forget where it was at, but in the 70s, there was this beached whale, and they brought in all these scientists and all these people to figure out what to do with this beached whale because it was massive. And the solution they had was like, if we load it up with dynamite, we can blow it up, and then it'll blow it into so many small pieces that you'll barely even notice it, and like whatever chunks are remaining, like the pelicans and stuff, will take care of it. So people gathered to watch the whale explode and just got showered in pieces of whale. Like, it was not well thought out. You can find the footage of like the newscaster like reporting with the whale behind him, and then like it just explodes, and all of a sudden you hear people like, but like that's all I was thinking of when they blow up Ruben, and it's just like blood, and he's like, parts of Ruben have fallen everywhere.
That's definitely got to be what they were going for. But
it's like,
that I've never seen nor even heard.
I heard about it on a radio show recently. They were like celebrating like the 30 or 40 year anniversary of it happening.
Yeah.
I immediately Googled the footage. I was like, all right, let me see this footage. And it's not as funny as like your, like the vision that you have in your brain is funnier.
Yeah.
But like you do hear like the sounds, and you're just like, oh, that's so funny.
That's amazing. Oh my God.
The reason why I wanted to bring up Ethan is because the stinger, which I don't even think I knew that there was a stinger to this episode.
I didn't either. I think even last night I got ready to turn the TV off.
Yeah, because I was just like, oh, credits next episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's that stinger where you find out that Ethan is the new Anatomy Park. We haven't brought it up yet, but the stinger ties back to Pirates of the Pancreas.
Pirates of the Pancreas.
Which is like Rick's.
It's Rick's baby.
Yeah,
like,
he just loves it so much.
It's his portion of Anatomy Park that he really wanted through, and he said he got a lot of pushback on it. And he's like, we don't whitewash the pirates, Morty. They're pretty rapey. And I'm like,
well, and that's like when they have the stinger is that he's on a call with the people designing the new Anatomy Park, and they're just like, see, here's the thing, is that pirates aren't really known for being in a pancreas.
And he basically Rick hangs up the phone, and I kept thinking that it was gonna go like a step further, and he was just gonna like kill Ethan on the
Well, because Ethan's like, so wait, there's gonna be an amusement park inside of me. He's like, it's gonna be a statue of compromise or something. Like those are the rants that I enjoy from Rick.
Yes,
when it's not interrupted with like the burping and stuff.
Yeah.
Like the burping it's never been funny to me.
No. I get it. Like, Rick's an alcoholic.
Yeah.
You could have got that across without every single sentence he burps in, which is what you were saying, a big problem with season 1.
Yeah. I do want to ask, with the animation, how do you feel about the animation of Rick and Morty? Because it's kind of a weird animation style.
It is definitely a weird animation style, and it's very like, you see that animation style, you're like, oh, these are the same people involved.
Yeah.
It takes me back to, what was the big Nickelodeon studio back in the day? They did Rugrats, Rocket Power, Monsters.
I can't remember their name, but I know exactly what you mean. They have a very distinct style.
Exactly. Like, if you see a cartoon
or
by
when
them,
you see the guys who did like Dr. Katz and home movies, like they have that squiggle vision style.
You know what you're getting into. I don't mind it. I think it's provided a lot of influence on other cartoons as well.
I don't know how to describe the sentence that I want to say with this.
Okay.
But I feel weird, but it makes me laugh every time Rick isn't talking and his mouth is just like a weird like Ren from Ren and Stimpy W. It's the most
Morty does it too.
Yeah, it's the most awkward looking. I'm like I don't know what that lip is, but like every time it happens, I remember the first time I was watching it happen, I like paused the TV and I'm like, what the fuck?
What's he doing? Yeah, I like the animation. I think the cool thing about Rick and Morty are the creature designs. I think
the creature designs are super detailed,
are always amazing, regardless of how dumb the concept itself may be.
Yeah. No, I think I would 100% agree with that, actually. I mean, again, like you said, not a ton to really talk about in this. Do you have any final closing thoughts on Anatomy Park?
Watch the episode, if anything, for John Oliver's lines alone.
Yeah, he's just going buck wild.
Yeah,
on this.
It's John Oliver. If you enjoy either the John Oliver show on HBO or you enjoyed his role in Community, you're gonna probably like this episode.
Yeah, he's doing his thing and he's doing it well.
Exactly. He's doing his thing, he's doing it well. Would not recommend this for a Christmas watch, but a mid-March, mid-April, mid-May watch.
Yeah, perfect.
Definitely.
Yeah, just middle of the spring, you're like, I feel like I want the tiniest dosage of Christmas without being overwhelmed.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? That's what Christmas 365 is about. Even just adding that little tiny dosage of Christmas to your year.
This is, I mean, just like how While You Were Sleeping was almost barely a Christmas movie, but it was a perfect, if you wanted a Christmas movie during your Valentine's Day, perfect. Chef's kiss.
Perfect. Hey, we've got a lot of listeners out there right now. Take your time. I know that you're busy, but take the time out. Leave a review. 5 stars, please. Have a fantastic day. Have a fantastic spring.
And I'm going to give an assignment to y'all, actually.
Go ahead, Matt.
So, if you've got ideas for stuff that we should watch, tell us in the review. Say, hey, I'm in the middle of binge watching Frasier. Turns out Frasier had a Christmas episode every fucking year for 11 seasons. If you want us to watch all of them and definitively rank the Frasier Christmas episodes from worst to best, I'm not going to do that myself. But if someone's like, yo, I do want to hear that, leave a review. Say, hey, you cowards, watch all 11 Frasier Christmas specials and work this shit out. Because some of them are good, some of them are really bad.
Hey, and I can't tell you that I'm going to like doing that, but I'll do it if you ask me to.
All right, well, Merry Christmas, Dylan.
Merry Christmas, Matt.
Whoa, now
Hey everybody, I'm Chris Fafalius, and I'm the producer of Krista Makes a Podcast and the host of the One Hit Thunder podcast.
And I'm Matt Kelly, host of Horror Movie Night and the producer / the head of content for the Geekscape Podcasting Network.
Between the two of us, we have, believe it or not, 25 years of podcasting experience, and we want to help you start your own podcast.
We know podcasting, and we want to share that knowledge with you.
So whether you're new to podcasting or you want some feedback on your currently active podcast, we want to help.
Or perhaps you're just overwhelmed with all of the editing work. Well, we can help you with that also.
You can check out our website at weknowpodcasting.com for more information.
We're excited to help your podcasting dreams become a reality.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network. You're listening to the Geekscape Network.